You're watching What's Trending live from the Samsung Blogger Lounge at South by Southwest. We have tons of great guests today, and we're, of course, wanting to hear from you. Tweet us at What's Trending using the hashtag Samsung South by Southwest. Also, join us in the chat room. Sure. Lon here. What's going on?
We are delighted to have the cast of 1 and 2.
Yes, welcome
cast and director
to
of 1 and
Trending.
2. Elizabeth Reaser, Grant Bowler, Timothy Chalamet, and Andrew Palermo.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much
guys,
for being here
joining us.
and for tweeting. I know it's a task for some of you.
The older ones are missing.
Well, no, it's awesome because, you know, sometimes you don't know some more like the filmmakers and the actors, the people deep in the film world. Like, they don't really, sometimes they care to tweet, sometimes they don't. You know, some people don't even have Twitter accounts right now or Instagram accounts.
We all have one, right? We all have one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have one.
We're all on Twitter?
We all do. I think we're all very progressive.
Yeah.
It's funny, the Kiernan, who's also in the movie, Kiernan Shipka,
Sure.
she is 4 years younger than I am and has an enormous social media following. So that inspired me to like get my own enormous
Gotta
social
do
media
it.
following.
I know you're 4
And I
years
have,
older,
like-
you're old right now, but you know.
Yeah, but I have like 1,000 followers.
Trying to get her to retweet you all the time. See if
Well,
you can-
she put a picture up last night with me in it, and I got
All right.
so many followers, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
does it for
Get
kids
in on
these
that.
days, really. So let's tell people a bit about the movie, because obviously a lot of people haven't seen it who might be watching.
Yeah, it's a movie, a film with these fine folks, and it follows 2 children who grow up in isolation and sort of on a mysterious farmhouse. And the children are played by Timo and Kiernan, and they sort of have special powers. It's a little bit of like a coming-of-age story and a little bit of genre mixed in as well.
So for the actors, I mean, because it's sort of like magical realism, like sort of there's a supernatural element to it. How do you keep the film grounded and keep it in some kind of reality that you can play when there's all these kind of crazy, otherworldly things happening?
Well, I think this is something that Andrew did a great job of in the film. I have a belief that the more surreal the environment or the story, the more naturalistic the performances have to be.
Right.
And I think as a cast and with Andrew, we tried to keep it very, very grounded, almost in hyper-realism. So it's, you know, it's a very subtle film. It's a very lyrical kind of feel to it.
yeah, Grant had mentioned that to me yesterday in the Q&A, and I thought that was so well seen that the higher the stakes as far as the supernatural elements go, or like you said, the magical realism, the more important I think it is for the actors to ground it in a sense of reality, or else the audience isn't going to know what they're watching if there's crazy special effects and the actors are doing all these weird things,
Right,
you know?
yeah. And it sort of heightens the strangeness of the otherworldly elements when it's very relatable, kind of real, lived-in sort of people. I always think of maybe like Spielberg films, like E.T. or Close Encounters, where it only works the sort of bigger elements because you really feel like you connect to those people as individuals.
Now, Elizabeth, you've been part of the supernatural space in many ways. From
It's
the
a little
Twilight,
scene film some people might have heard of.
Isn't that fun, kind of jumping into another type of supernatural film? With a
Yes,
different type
except
of
that I
scenario
had
and
no
context.
special powers in this movie.
Oh, no. It's too bad.
I was just a normal human. Not normal, actually, but I was I was human in this movie. No, I think what was very exciting about this movie, and along the lines of what they were saying, is that it was really about this family, and that was mostly what Andrew focused on. And so the supernatural elements really, you know, like you were saying, the Close Encounters reference is such a great reference because those movies are so grounded in these families and this emotional storytelling, and that's what Andrew was able to accomplish.
Yeah, and Andrew, you're sort of coming at this. You're a cinematographer. You shot You're Next, which is a film I saw here at South by a few years ago. That's amazing. And Rich Hill sort of did coming for documentaries. What made you want to transition into doing a scripted feature, and why this story? What spoke to you about it?
Well, it's. I mean, when I'm shooting, I shoot mainly fiction films, and it's primarily where my interest lies. With Rich Hill, it was a special instance. It was a very personal film, and I just, you know, it sort of happened. I don't know that I'll continue to be making docs. I'd really like to eventually, but primarily narratives is where I'm interested. But you know, with this film, it was something that was long gestating, and you know, it offered me a chance to work on some things that interest me about family, and you know, it was also stuff that we mined in Rich Hill as well. But yeah, it's kind of I really, really like this Spielberg thing, because in all of his films it's this way. He's mining like very, very personal, very intense emotion. You know, E.T. is clearly about like his family's divorce and like the way he felt as a kid in a broken home. And you know, in this film, in our instance, it's a film that I really relate to my sister growing up, and some of the things we had to endure as children, and traumatic experiences that really bonded us. And the kids in the film, go through a lot, and they come out on the other side, invincible, basically, in my opinion.
And
I was like, no, you go. No, you go.
No, you.
No, you. Supernatural themed films. It's like they've been around, like E.T. But for some reason, I feel like the past 2 years with Twilight, there's so many people that wanted to jump into that, whether it be through powers or vampires or zombies and this that. Like, why do you think that's happening now? Why is there that interest?
Well, I think it's a lot of things. I mean, primarily, I think it's marketable. I mean, it's fundable, but also I think it's like a nice in way, like a path into mining things that are much deeper and harder to discuss. And perhaps if it was just a film about horrible things that this family endures,
Yeah.
and it didn't have this other thing, people could keep it at arm's length. But there's something that makes it really thrilling and exciting, and it's a film that I totally am interested in. I think, as you should make a film for yourself and like what you'd like to see. And there were very few films that I could look to that were guidances in that way. But I think we've tread our own path, and it's a weird mixture of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think genre, if I can jump in, genre is a very powerful tool that way, in that you can break down racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes, all sorts of preconceptions that we often come to realism with, we can evaporate in genre. And as Andrew says, explore story elements that normally we might find a lot more confronting, or we'd have to battle our way through certain preconceptions in order to examine. So, yeah, it's a lovely element of this movie because it is a really, really concentrated little vignette on the lives of 4 people.
And Timothy, I want to ask, because it is largely a movie about this very close sibling relationship with you and Kieran and Shipka. So how did you guys sort of work that out? Did you work out a lot of your own backstory? What were the kind of conversations you were having before shooting?
Well, it was really important to me going into it that we had a good chemistry. Mm-hmm. And as far as the backstory goes, and I don't want to say too much without revealing.
Yeah,
what goes on in the
don't
movie,
give away.
but,
No spoilers, please.
But there's an air of mystery to it that Kieran and I could have really pestered Andrew with and been like, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? But that added to it not really knowing what some of the things were about. So we definitely didn't try to address that with each other. But I was talking about this with her last week. We were so lucky in that we got along, because even the first day we tackled a pretty crazy scene that didn't make it into the movie. Yeah, I can't imagine what it would have been like if we actually didn't like each other.
So we have a Would You Rather game, Superheroes Edition.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Superpowers.
yeah.
Superheroes,
Ready.
Superpowers.
It's not Iron Man.
Would You Rather, Superpowers Edition. Let's begin. We'll ask a Would You Rather. You know how it works.
It's
and
just would you
let
rather.
us
We'll give you
know.
2
All right.
options. You guys tell us which one.
All right, go,
it.
Lon.
All right, so number 1, would you rather have super strength, but you die at 60, or you have no superpowers at all, but you live to be 100?
Dead at 60.
Super strength?
Yeah, you mean like you're really, really strong.
No, I'd like to
Superman,
live.
Wonder Woman strength.
No, I want to live the 100.
Live to
thing.
100.
Yeah.
No, dead at 60.
What's the quality of my life at 100? Am I like decrepit, or
If you're normal, if you right
I'm
now...
me at 100.
You're you and you live to
I'm
100.
all about it? Yeah, 100.
All right, well, that's 50-50.
So, would you rather have super speed or have the ability to teleport, but only to places you'd already visited?
What is super speed?
Super speed is like the Flash. Like you could run around the world in the
very
next
analytical.
Yeah, because then you
I need
isn't
to
that like
know what-
teleportation anyway? Like you would just swell in the.
I think teleportation, because I've been to some cool places that I would like to revisit right now.
I think super speed. You could get yourself out of any tricky situation.
There you go. Oh, nice.
Is it that camera?
More dramatic that way.
There's that camera.
I'd go super speed as well, I think. Yeah.
I got to go with the speed.
Would you rather have heat vision or ice breath?
This is the last one.
Sorry, what?
Heat vision?
Heat vision. Heat vision.
What's
or
that?
ice breath.
Like you can burn anything with like laser heat eyes or ice breath. Like
You gotta
Superman.
learn
These
your
are both Superman
superpowers
powers.
here.
Laser eyes or ice.
Laser eyes.
Can I turn the ice breath off in the event that I'm
like
kissing
Superman.
someone?
If you want to freeze something with your breath, you can, or you can just talk normal.
Yeah, ice breath.
Ice breath.
Maybe
Yeah, I think ice breath would be most helpful in the kitchen. You've got a microwave, and you can heat things instantaneously, but there's no sort of like rapid cooling. You
Right.
get like a 6-pack. You don't. You get a juice. You get a juice
Oh,
at
I
the store. Yeah, and you can instantly cool your juice.
As an Australian, everything's about barbecuing, so I got to go with the laser eyes.
Right.
I want to have laser eyes in a club. So I don't know where I'm dancing. I'm like,
No, it's you're burning.
That's murder.
I don't think you understand how laser.
Wait,
eyes
one
should
question about the
everybody.
ice breath. Do you look ridiculous when you open your mouth and
You're blowing.
like a
I'm
soft
very
kiss.
fascinated right
It's
now.
a
very soft
We should
kiss.
just animate this whole conversation with us doing all the superpowers. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
being
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
The
Great.
1 and 2 cast. Check it out right now. Is it going to be hitting theaters anytime soon?
We don't yet know. It's gonna. We have 2 more screenings here at South
Okay.
by. Tomorrow at Lamar, I think at 3:30, and then one on Wednesday in the evening at like 7 or something.
And it was at Berlin. Congratulations
Yeah,
on that
yeah, we
one, too.
premiered in
It's
Berlin. It was
amazing.
great.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to seeing where else it hits, and I'm sure it'll be hitting a theater near you soon. And definitely stay tuned to hear what's trending from the Samsung Blogger Lounge at South by Southwest. We have a ton more great guests coming up. Natasha Leone from
got the-
Fresno. We have Bethany Moda. We have Ken Jong from K-Town Cowboys. Colin Hanks, who has a great documentary here. So remember also, we want to hear from you, so tweet us out what's trending using the hashtag Samsung South by Southwest. Tweet that out, and keep watching. It's
Longest
Sunday.
outro in the world.